Welcome to The Report. This series covers topics and concerns of lore that have a direct influence on the gameplay of Star Citizen. Today, I wanted to discuss how 2020 will be the year the lore of Star Citizen will be incorporated into the stories being told in the verse. I will begin by explaining why I believe this is the year we will see story in the game. Then I will highlight the major issues in the lore for the current year, 2950. Finally, I will break down what stories we will likely see first in the game. With a combination of the mystery of the scrambled signal that has showed up in the game since the 3.7.1 patch, and the recent additions to the game in terms of missions in patch 3.8, I firmly believe CIG wants to start telling stories in-game sooner rather than later. Statements made by lore and the mission teams indicate that they want to start adding more story-based elements into the game. Missions focused around telling you the story of the verse. They have also talked about the last hurdles they want to cross technically before they start fleshing the game out more. Then there's the mystery signal, which I talked about in an update a while back. This is a massive indication they want to start doing something in-game, something involving the lore of the game, even including mission audio files rather than the generic text that set up missions now. In fact, 3.8 supports this theory with how it has rearranged the location of the mission givers, expanded the settlement of Grimhex for future support of larger ships, and the addition of new chained missions and in-lore organizations like the CDF acting as a mission giver. With the addition of the final planet of the Stanton system, Microtech, to the game, CIG seems to want to remove the out-of-place planetoid of Delamar. Both Wallace Klim and Miles Eckhart have been moved to Grimhex and Lorville respectively. Neither were meant to be part of Delamar in the first place, but native mission givers to Stanton. In fact, even the expansion of Grimhex to support larger ships seems to indicate it taking Delamar's place as the primary hub of extra-legal activity in Stanton, thus setting up for stories to revolve around the official locations of the Stanton system. With patch 3.8, we also have seen the addition of an in-lore organizations who were only activated very recently in the game's lore, beginning to offer mission payouts. Combine that with new mission chains essential to telling the coherent story over time, you have the technical readiness for the in-game story. This means that CIG is prepared and comfortable to begin telling stories that will have an impact on the in-game lore of the Stanton system. As soon as they have players in place, they are set up for the opening acts of the story of Star Citizen. However, what will that story be? How will we be able to participate in the story? To get a better idea of this story, let's break down the major issues of 2950 that we know of right now. The first major event, which will be taking place all year long, will be the election of a new Imperator. The Imperator is the head of the UEE, and they hold an important place in the government, setting agendas and giving final approval for almost anything and everything related to the Empire. This will end on Citizen Day, CitizenCon, I believe, 2950, with the new Imperator being elected for 10 years. If you're interested to learn more about the UEE government, I actually did a video on that. Go check it out. Connected to the election are the issues around decentralization in the UEE. Stanton has become a symbol of what humanity could achieve if they're not bound by so much red tape. Many want to push this point, where they are likely to use Stanton as an example of the way forward for humanity. Being in the Stanton system, we are likely to get involved in some way with this political spin. Another of the major ongoing events in 2950 is crime, specifically in the Stanton system. For many years, the Stanton system has seen a drastic rise in crime, with the Jumptown Wars even being referenced in lore documents. However, because of the agreement that gave the system to the 4 largest corporations in the Empire, the UEE advocacy has a minimal presence in the system. The purpose of selling the system off was that it wouldn't be a burden to the taxpayers to help maintain control for these corporate juggernauts, which frankly should be able to pay for their own protection. The last attempt to stem this crime wave is to activate what's called the Civilian Defense Force, or CDF. The CDF functions similarly to the practice in the United States Old West of appointing deputy federal marshals and civilian/militia groups to help keep law and order. Anyone with a clean record can sign up for the CDF, which is managed by the local advocacy agents. Recently, the CDF of Stanton was initialized by Special Agent in charge of the Stanton system, Rowena Dooley. A former UEE Marine, she has argued for the necessity of the CDF and its effectiveness in stopping ongoing crime waves in places like Farron. Another event linked to crime in Stanton, and the Empire as a whole, is the activation of the Pyro Jump Point. With a new jump point, outside elements like the Xenothreat, rulers of Ruin Station, are poised to enter Stanton for their own political and economic agendas. It also allows to venture into more chaotic, lawless territories, with places like Ruin Station and new mission givers found there. As Ruin Station is controlled only by those who have the most power, the story of who will control the station could very well be an event we will see in-game, thus allowing us to see the brutal side of criminal life outside the protection of the UEE. With these major events in mind, let's discuss how they could turn into in-game story events throughout the next year and how we might impact the universe as a whole. Firstly, the election may spill into the game itself, minimally through in-game advertisements, but perhaps even in-game events. One could easily see stories dealing with the candidates trying to influence the system in a way that would benefit their campaign. This could be anything from simple delivery missions of flyers or other campaign material, investigation missions into political rivals, or even political assassinations. Doing missions to destabilize or bolster one political group is a possibility, given Stanton's prominence as a symbol of decentralization. In fact, we already see evidence of these kinds of missions with the new chain missions dealing with the gang of shipjackers, which the players are tasked to eliminate. One could easily see similar mission chains dealing with political agents of various political parties. A flip side to the bounty-like mission chain to be one of more deception, infiltration, and murder. It could be a simple way of adding more story to the universe we have right now. With the story of crime, there is already some potential for in-game events. With the CDF, we could see more organized and focused group gameplay, with missions dedicated to rooting out criminal activity en masse. With the potential of having a mission giver in Rowena Dooley, giving players not just sweep, patrol, or bounty missions, but large-scale raid-type content, trying to root out gangs like the Ninetails. We have already seen some of the elements of the CDF in-game, right now with the addition of the Call to Arms mission, which gives players credits for every criminal killed. We also know that CIG can make mission chains through mission givers like Miles Eckhart. We have also seen that CIG has recently developed AI that can disembark from ships, allowing for a take-and-hold mission involving waves of enemy or friendly AI to increase or decrease the challenge. It wouldn't be far-fetched to see these missions expanding and having long-term impact on Stanton. We know that CIG wants the universe to be more dynamic, and with the opening of the Pyro system to players, this could be the catalyst to try and push criminal players into the new lawless system, to create the status quo that CIG wants the system to start out as one of the more stable systems in the Empire. It would also give players a once-in-a-lifetime event to pacify the Stanton system, something that CIG has also stated is high on their priorities. Along that same route, there is a lingering question of the mystery signal that has been transmitted over the comms of Olisar and other places in the Stanton system. There is evidence that points to Xenothreat being the source of this, allowing for another chance for a major lore story point to take place, forcing players to take on harder and harder enemies to remove the invading force of Xenothreat from Stanton and push them back to the Pyro system. With this connecting tissue, there may also be repercussions in Pyro should the invasion go poorly. Seeing as only the strong rule in Ruin Station, this could create a power vacuum, which players could influence through missions, pushing one gang over the others to claim Ruin Station. Stories often work best when the impact of the events inside them cause ripple effects throughout the plot. having actions that have consequences allows the reader, viewer, or participant in the story to feel like the world they are in is more real and alive. This is because it parallels history, where decisions being made at one point may have lasting consequences, even unforeseen ones. Thus, these stories are opportunities to start bringing the lore in-game, with in-game events affecting the story long-term and giving reasons for players to get in the game beyond credits or gear. In the end, I don't know exactly how CIG plans to take their story, but I am confident that this is the year the lore that once simply resided on posts on the website will begin to emerge in the game itself. I want to take this time to thank those who support us on Patreon. If you want to help out, consider becoming one yourself. It really does help. I hope you enjoyed the report and would love to hear your thoughts on the story of 2950. Do you think we're going to get the first in-game events? What kind of stories do you want to see? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, ex Historia ad Astra.